Now, I want you to listen closely, because what I am about to say may sound almost too simple, And yet it is the principle that quietly explains the difference between people who keep rising after 60 and people who slowly begin to fade into the background of their own lives. Most folks believe success has an expiration date. They'll never say it out loud, of course. They'll phrase it politely. They'll say, "I've done my part," or "that chapter is over," or "this is just how life is now," and little by little, without any dramatic moment, they hand their future over to habit, to comfort, to time. But here's the truth. Time doesn't retire you. You retire yourself when you stop aiming. Now don't misunderstand me. After 60, you don't need to chase the same trophies you chased at 30. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. In fact, that's the beauty of it. The second half of life can be the first time you finally build from freedom instead of fear, from clarity instead of confusion, from meaning instead of noise. And that brings us to the strangest secret about success after 60. It isn't a vitamin. It isn't a new gadget. It isn't luck. It isn't even talent. It is this. You become what you think about most of the time, not what you think about most of the time. Not what you talk about at the dinner table. Not what you post. Not what you hope will something. Not what you hope will somehow happen. What you consistently hold in your mind shapes what you consistently do. And what you consistently do becomes what you consistently get. Now, let that settle for a moment. Because if that is true, and it is, then the question isn't, how old am I? The question isn't, how old am I? The question is, what am I feeding my mind each day? What picture am I rehearsing? What story am I repeating? What future am I silently agreeing with? Some people wake up after 60 and think about loss. They think about what aches, what changed, what didn't work out, what they can't do anymore, who left, what's gone, and because that becomes the focus, it becomes the direction, their world shrinks. Their confidence shrinks. Their curiosity shrinks. Their relationships shrinks. Their relationships not because life demanded it, but because the mind moved there first. Others wake up and think about growth. They think about contribution. They think about a project, a mission, a craft, a person they can help, a skill they can still learn, a message they can still learn, a message they can still learn, a message they can still make. And because that becomes the focus, it becomes the direction. Their world expands. Their spirit stays awake. Their days have purpose. And here's the part most people miss. After 60, your thinking becomes even more powerful. Why? Because you have proof. You have experience. You have perspective. You've lived long enough to know what matters and what doesn't. You're no longer fooled by glitter. You're no longer impressed by noise. You can see the difference between what is urgent and what is important. That means you can aim your mind like a laser. And once your mind is aimed, your life begins to organize itself around that aim. You stop drifting. You stop waiting for motivation. You stop negotiating with your own potential. You start living on purpose. Now, you may be thinking, all right, but what should I think about? A fair question. Because the mind is like a garden. A fair question. If you don't plant something on purpose, weeds will grow by default. Worry, regret, comparison, bitterness, fear. And weeds don't require effort. They grow on neglect. So the real secret is not only that you become what you think about. The real secret is that you must choose what you think about, on purpose, every single day. You choose a goal that gives you life. You choose a reason to get up that is bigger than routine. You choose a reason to get up that is bigger than routine. You choose a direction that makes your heart sit up straight. And then you do something simple, so simple it will surprise you. You start acting like the person who is already on that path, not in big dramatic leaps, in small daily steps, a page a day, a walk a day, a phone call a day, a practice a day, a habit a day, a contribution a day. Because success after 60 is not built by intensity. It's built by consistency. And as you listen to what we're going to talk about, I want you to hold one thought in your mind as if it were written in bold letters across the screen of your life. Your next chapter is not behind you. It is in front of you. Not because I'm trying to make you feel good, because it's true. As long as you can think, you can choose. As long as you can choose, you can change direction. And as long as you can change direction, you can create a new result. So if you've been coasting, if you've been settling, if you've been telling yourself it's too late, I want you to consider right now that the only thing that makes it too late is the decision to stop aiming. And you don't have to stop aiming. Not today. Not now. Because the strangest secret about success. After 60 is the same secret that has always governed success at any age. Your life moves in the direction of your most consistent thoughts. So the real question is, what direction are you choosing starting today? After 60, success is no longer a race, it's a decision, and it begins in the most private place in your world, the thoughts you choose to live with. Earlier in life, people often measure success by speed and comparison, but after 60, the track begins to lose its power, because you've seen enough to know that speed is not the same thing as direction and motion is not the same thing as meaning. The scoreboard fades, and the steering wheel becomes visible. You realize that the most important victory is not outrunning another person, but choosing where you're going and choosing it on purpose. That is why success after 60 is a decision. It is not a trophy reserved for perfect health or perfect circumstances. It is the daily choice to keep growing, to keep contributing, to keep aiming your mind at a future that matters to you. The word decision matters because a decision is not a wish. A wish says I'd like things to be better, and then it waits. A decision says this is who I am now, and then it moves. A decision closes the door behind you. It stops negotiating with doubt. And after 60, that ability to decide becomes your advantage because you have perspective. You know what regret feels like. You know what wasted time costs. Wise, you know what wasted time costs. You know which habits quietly steal years. And you know the years ahead deserve the best of you, not the leftovers. So what is the decision? Exactly. It is the decision about what you will think about consistently. Because the mind is not neutral. It is either directed or it is. Either directed or it is. Drifted. And when it drifts toward the easiest, most familiar patterns. Worry, criticism, replaying old disappointments, comparing yourself to others, reliving what you cannot change. That drift can happen quietly. A person can be comfortable, even busy, and still be drifting. Days fill up, but the inner life gradually shrinks, simply because the mind stopped aiming. But when the mind is directed, something remarkable happens. Energy returns. Not the frantic energy of youth, but the steady energy of purpose. You wake up with a reason. You become selective with what you consume, what you listen to, and what you say to yourself. You begin to protect your attention because attention is the real currency of your life. Where attention goes, life goes. After 60, you cannot afford to spend that currency on thoughts that drain you. This is why consistent thinking matters more than occasional inspiration. Many people wait for a feeling, and feelings are unreliable. But consistent thinking is a discipline. It is the quiet practice of returning again and again to the picture you have chosen. It is not denying problems. It is choosing not to live inside them. It is seeing reality clearly and then placing your focus on what you can do, what you can build, what you can improve, and what you can give. Consider two people with similar challenges. One repeats, day after day, I'm too old for this. The best is behind me. The other repeats day after day, I have time to create something meaningful. I can learn. I can serve. Their futures will not be the same, because their thoughts will shape their actions, and their actions will shape their results. The first person will unconsciously choose smaller risks and smaller habits. The second will choose movement, learning, connection, and contribution. The difference begins in the mind, long before it shows up on the outside. Now the decision becomes practical when you tie it to a clear aim. Success after 60 is not vague positivity, it is specific direction. A goal that gives you dignity, a mission that pulls you forward. It might be strengthening your health so you can be present for your family. It might be mentoring younger people, mastering a skill you postponed, repairing a relationship, or serving a cause that needs you. The form will differ, but the principle is the same. You decide what matters, and then you decide to think about it daily. Here is a simple tool. Choose one sentence that represents your direction, and make it your daily thought. Keep it short enough to remember. I am building a strong body and a calm mind. I am creating useful work that serves others. Then each morning before the world pours its noise into your mind, repeat that sentence slowly and ask, what is one action that matches this? One action, not 10. One action that proves your decision is real. Because decisions become believable when they are followed by proof. A walk, a page written, a lesson practiced, a meal chosen wisely, a difficult conversation, handled with kindness, a habit done even when you don't feel like it. These are votes for the person you are becoming. And after 60, those votes add up quickly, because you are less distracted by the need to impress. You can do the work quietly, consistently, and with satisfaction. So if you want success after 60, stop asking, do I still have it? Start asking, what am I choosing? What am I choosing to focus on, to feed, to repeat, to practice? Because the mind will obey you, but only if you give it an order. Give it the order, decide your direction, decide your thoughts. Decide your thoughts, decide your daily proof. The strangest secret still governs every life, whether you are 16 or 60, whether you are starting out or starting over. And the secret is not hidden in a book or locked inside some exclusive group. It sits in plain sight, quietly shaping the direction of your days, and it can be stated in a single line. You move toward the picture you hold in your mind. Not the picture you say you want once in a while, not the picture you admire in someone else's life, but the picture you admire in someone else's life, but the picture you consistently rehearse in your own thinking. After 60, this truth becomes even more important, because life gets quieter in certain ways. The noisy competition can fade. The outside world may not demand the same things it once demanded, and that's when your inner world becomes the main driver. When the external pressure eases, the internal picture becomes the steering wheel. If you do not choose that picture deliberately, your mind will choose one for you, built from old disappointments, old labels, and old fears. And then, little by little, you will move toward that picture, as surely as a ship moves in the direction of its compass. Most people don't realize how powerful this is because they assume life is mainly controlled by circumstances. They say, if my health improves, then I'll do more. If I had more money, then I'd feel freer. If people treated me differently, then I'd be confident. But here's the order of things. Your inner picture shapes your choices. Your choices shape your habits shape your results. And your results reinforce the picture. It's a loop, and you can stay trapped in that loop without ever seeing the real cause, because the picture is invisible. It sits behind everything you do. It sits behind everything you do. Think about it this way. Two people can have the same age, the same neighborhood, the same family responsibilities, and even similar limitations, yet one grows and one shrinks. The difference is rarely raw talent. Most often, it is the picture. One person carries a picture that says, my best yay, raws are gone, I'm living in the second half now, so I must be careful, small and quiet. The other carries a picture that says, I have wisdom now, I have time now, I can choose what matters, I can still build something meaningful. They both wake up, they both face real life, but they walk into the day with different instructions written in their mind. And the mind follows instructions. It looks for evidence to support the picture it already accepts. If your picture says, nothing new will work for me, your mind will notice every obstacle and ignore every opportunity. If your picture says, I'm the kind of person who improves and learns, your mind will notice teachers, tools, habits, and paths forward that were always there but previously overlooked. This is not magic. This is focus. The brain filters reality, and it filters it according to what you believe matters. So the picture you hold is not a decoration. It is a command. After 60, people often fight the wrong battle. They wrestle with motivation, with energy, with confidence, with inconsistency, and they wonder why willpower feels heavy. But the real issue might be that they are trying to build a new life while still carrying an old picture. They are attempting new habits while still believing deep down, I'm not that kind of person. They are aiming for health while still rehearsing, my body is breaking down. They are aiming for purpose while still repeating, I am past my prime. And as long as the picture stays the same, behavior will keep drifting back to match it. So the question becomes practical. What picture are you holding? Not what you hope is true, but what you actually rehearse. When you think about the coming months, what do you see? Do you see a smaller world, fewer options, lower expectations, and a life mostly about managing decline? Or do you see strength, contribution, learning, action, and a future shaped by intention? Because you will move toward whichever one is most familiar in your mind. Now, here is the encouraging part. You can change the picture, and you don't need permission. You don't need a perfect moment. You don't need to erase the past. You simply need to choose a new image and feed it daily until it becomes the dominant one. That is how change happens from the inside out. Start with clarity. A picture is built from words, and words become images. So write down a simple description of the life you are moving toward. Not a fantasy, but a direction. I am healthy enough to enjoy my days and serve the people I love. I am calm, focused, and useful. I am building a meaningful project in this season of life. Make it personal, specific, and believable. The mind rejects what feels fake, but it embraces what feels possible. Then rehearse it. Repetition is the language the mind understands. Each morning, before the noise of the world rushes in, spend a few minutes with that picture. See it as a scene, not as a slogan. Imagine yourself living it. How do you move? How do you speak? What do your days look like? What do you do consistently? What are you proud of? And then, here is the key. Attach an action to the image. A picture without action becomes daydreaming. A picture connected to action becomes a plan. You might say, if my picture is health and energy, then today I walk for 20 minutes and drink water before coffee. If your picture is contribution, then today you make the phone call, you write the page, you volunteer, you teach what you know. Small actions are not small when they are aligned with a big picture. They are proof. They tell your mind, this is real, this is who I am. Now, also protect the picture. You cannot feed your mind garbage all day and expect it to hold a strong image. Be selective with what you want. Choose what you listen to and what conversations you allow to dominate your attention. If you surround yourself with people who constantly talk about decline, complaint, and fear, your picture will weaken. But if you surround yourself with ideas that strengthen hope, discipline, and service, your picture becomes steady, and steady pictures create steady lives. And remember this, after 60, the picture is not about proving something to the world. It's about deciding who you will be in the years ahead. It's about legacy, not applause. It's about waking up with a reason that makes the day feel valuable. The strangest secret is not strange, because it is complicated. It is strange because it is ignored. People search everywhere for a new technique, a new shortcut, a new external answer, and all the while the real power is sitting quietly inside the mind, waiting to be directed. So choose your picture carefully. Feed it daily. Back it with simple actions. Back it with simple actions. And watch how your life, almost without strain, begins to move toward the image you hold, because that is the law at work. That is the principle in motion, and it starts again today, the moment you decide what you will consistently see in your mind. After 60, the world offers you a strange bargain. It says, you've earned the right to slow down, and that part is true. Down, and that part is true. But it also whispers, you no longer need to aim, and that part is a lie. Because the next chapter of your life is not powered by pressure the way the early chapters may have been. It is powered by purpose. Pressure is noisy. Purpose is quiet. Pressure pushes from behind with fear of falling short. Purpose pulls from ahead with the promise of meaning. When you were younger, pressure could be useful. It could make you chase a deadline, a promotion, a title, a number in the bank. But pressure is a temporary engine. It burns hot, and it burns out. When outside demands loosen, pressure loses its hold. If it was your only fuel, you may feel a hollow space and call it lack of motivation, but it isn't laziness. It is simply that you've outgrown the old engine. This is where purpose becomes the secret of renewal. Purpose does not require applause. It requires that you decide what makes your life valuable, and then you organize your days around it. Meaning beats momentum, because momentum can move you fast in the wrong direction. Meaning moves you steadily in the right one. Momentum says, keep busy. Meaning says, be useful. Momentum says, don't stop. Meaning says, don't drift. After 60, the danger is not that you stop working. The danger is that you keep moving without a reason you respect. You can fill your calendar and still feel empty. Purpose gives a simple answer to the question your mind asks each morning. What am I here for today? When you have that answer, ordinary days become strong days because they are connected to something larger than comfort. Purpose is not a fantasy. It is a direction that fits your values and your season. It might be health, so you can be present for the people you love. It might be learning, so your mind stays awake. It might be service, teaching, mentoring, volunteering, building something that outlives you. The form can be simple, but the effect is powerful, because purpose gives you dignity. It tells you, I am still needed. I am still growing. Here is the practical difference between pressure and purpose in daily life. Pressure depends on moods. Purpose creates routines. Pressure waits for a burst of energy. Purpose works with steady habits. Pressure tries to change everything at once. Purpose chooses one thing that matters and does it consistently. When you are fueled by purpose, you stop asking, do I feel like it? You begin to ask, is this aligned with who I choose to be? That question produces a calmer kind of discipline, self-respect in action. Meaning also beats momentum because meaning can withstand setbacks. Momentum breaks when life interrupts. A plan changes, the body aches, a family need arises. Momentum collapses, and you feel as if you have failed. But meaning adapts. Meaning says, the goal is still the goal, even if the pace is different today. When your purpose is clear, you can take smaller steps without losing heart, because you know why you are stepping at all. You can rest without guilt, because your identity is not tied to frantic movement. So how do you build a purpose strong enough to carry your next chapter? You begin by asking better questions, not, what do people expect from me now, but what do I want to stand for? Not, how do I stay busy, but how do I stay meaningful? Then choose a purpose statement that can live in one sentence. Something you can remember on a hard day. I am improving my health so I can be fully present. I am passing on what I've learned. Clear, honest, yours. Next, translate purpose into a daily practice. Purpose without practice becomes a slogan. Practice turns purpose into identity. Keep it small and repeatable. A walk, a page, a call, a lesson, an hour given to something that matters. The practice does not have to be dramatic. It has to be faithful. Faithfulness is the quiet power that builds a new life, and it helps to give your purpose reminders, because the world is full of distractions that will gladly borrow your attention. Keep a small list where you can see it. The one sentence, the daily practice, and the reason it matters. Choose your inputs the way you choose your food. Conversations that sink into complaint will drain the picture you're trying to build. Ideas that lift your standards will strengthen it. At the end of the day, ask yourself, did my choices match my purpose even once today? And let tomorrow improve that answer. And finally, protect your purpose from pressure's return. Pressure will come back, wearing a familiar mask, comparison, guilt, fear of what others think. But you can answer it with a simple truth. I am not chasing applause. I am building meaning. When you live that way, success becomes deeper than excitement. It becomes peace with progress. So if you feel the old pressure fading, don't be alarmed. It is not the end of your drive. It is not the end of your drive. It is the beginning of your freedom. The invitation to exchange frantic momentum for lasting meaning, to replace the push of fear with the pull of purpose, and to step into your next chapter with a reason that keeps you quietly, steadily alive. Regret is a strange thing. It rarely arrives all at once like thunder. More often, it slips in quietly, like dust settling on furniture you forgot to cover. One day you look around and realize time has passed, opportunities have passed, and the life you meant to build has been postponed by 1,000 small delays. That's why the smartest people don't fight regret with big dramatic promises. They defeat it with a simple daily system, because the future is not created in bursts of enthusiasm. It is created in small actions, done faithfully until they become the natural way you live. After 60, this truth becomes even more valuable, because you no longer want to gamble your peace on motivation. Motivation comes and goes. It's like weather, but a system is like a compass. It keeps you moving even when you don't feel like moving. And here is the most comforting part. A system doesn't require enormous strength. And here is the most comforting part. It requires a decision, and then it requires consistency. Most people overestimate what they can do in a day, and underestimate what they can do in a day, and underestimate what they can do in a year. They think success requires heroic effort, huge energy, perfect timing, perfect health, perfect circumstances. But life doesn't usually offer perfect circumstances, does it? Life offers normal days, ordinary mornings, regular afternoons, quiet evenings, quiet afternoons, quiet evenings. And success is built inside those ordinary spaces by people who learned how to place one good brick on top of another, patiently, without needing fireworks. A daily system is simply a reliable method for turning intention into action. It removes the burden of constant decision-making. It tells you, this is what I do now. And once that is decided, it no longer takes so much mental energy to begin. Without a system, the mind negotiates. Should I do it today? Maybe tomorrow. I'm tired. It won't matter. I'll start when I feel ready. That negotiation is where dreams go to die. But with a system, the debate ends. You don't argue with your routine. You follow it the way you follow a map when you want to reach a destination. Now consider the emotional power of this. Regret is often born from broken promises to yourself, not promises to other people. Promises you made privately, quietly, about the kind of person you wanted to be. When those promises are delayed long enough, a person begins to doubt their own word. And when you don't trust your own word, confidence weakens. The mind starts to say, why try? I never stick with it anyway. That is a dangerous story. But a daily system rewrites that story because it creates proof. And proof is the foundation of self-respect. The system doesn't have to be complicated. In fact, the simpler it is, the stronger it is, the stronger it becomes. Complexity gives you excuses. Simplicity gives you momentum. Choose a small set of actions that directly support your goal and your values. Think in terms of minimum standards, not maximum ambition. For example, if your goal is health, your system might be drink water first, walk 20 minutes, eat 1 clean meal. If your goal is learning, your system might be read 10 pages, watch 1 lesson, write down 1 insight. If your goal is contribution, your system might be make 1 helpful call, send 1 encouraging message, spend 30 minutes on meaningful work. These are not huge tasks. They are doable tasks. And that is the point, because the real enemy after 60 is not lack of ability. It is inconsistency. Is not lack of ability. It is inconsistency. It is the habit of stopping and starting, until you begin to believe progress is impossible. But progress is not impossible. It is simply the result of small steps, repeated without drama. A daily system makes progress inevitable. Here is how small actions create big outcomes. First, they build identity. When you walk each day, you become a person who walks. When you read each day, you become a learner. When you practice each day, you become skilled. And identity is powerful, because once your mind accepts this is who I am, behavior becomes easier. You are no longer forcing yourself. You are expressing yourself. Second, small actions compound. 1 walk improves circulation. A week of walks improves energy. A month improves endurance. A year changes your body and your mind. 1 page read teaches a thought. A week changes your vocabulary. A year changes your thinking. Compounding is quiet, but it is relentless. And third, small actions protect you from the trap of perfection. Many people fail because they believe they must do everything. So when they can't do everything, they do nothing. A system breaks that pattern. It says, even on a hard day, do the minimum. The minimum keeps the chain unbroken. It keeps the habit alive. And the habit, once alive, can be strengthened again when the season improves. Now, if you want a daily system that actually works, give it 3 qualities. Make it clear, make it measurable, and make it forgiving. Clear means you know exactly what to do. Not get healthier, but walk 20 minutes. Measurable means you can tell whether you did it. Forgiving means it can survive real life. If you miss a day, you don't quit, you return. You don't make it a moral failure, you make it a temporary interruption. And then you continue. Another powerful part of a system is timing. Attach your actions to existing routines. Most of life is already patterned. You wake up, you eat, you rest, you go to bed. So place your new actions where they naturally fit. After I brush my teeth, I stretch. After breakfast, I walk. After dinner, I read. When you link a new habit to an old habit, the old habit becomes a trigger. This makes consistency easier because you are not relying on memory or mood. You are relying on structure. Also, keep your environment on your side. A system is not only what you do, it is what you arrange. Put your walking shoes where you can see them. Keep healthy food visible. Keep your notebook open on the desk. Remove friction. Add reminders. The environment quietly votes for your habits all day long, and then, perhaps the most important piece, track your system. Not in a complicated way, just a simple mark on a calendar. A check, a line, something that shows you, I kept my word today. That mark is more than ink, it is evidence, and evidence creates belief. When you see a row of marks, you begin to think, this is who I am. The system becomes self-reinforcing. After 60, you don't need more pressure. You need a cleaner process. You need a simple daily system that makes it hard to drift and easy to return. Because the goal is not to impress anyone with intensity. The goal is to protect your future from regret. By building it quietly, day by day, with small, faithful actions that create a life you can respect, a life you can enjoy, a life you can look back on and say, I used my time well. I stayed awake, I kept growing, I kept giving, I kept moving toward what mattered, and today I will do it again by taking the next small step. Your experience is not the past. It is capital, and the moment you begin to see it that way, something changes inside you. Many people reach 60 and treat their decades like a closed book, as if life has already said what it was going to say through them, and now they are simply living in the echo of earlier chapters. But that is a misunderstanding of how value works. Experience is not an old photograph you hang on the wall. It is a resource you can invest. It is wisdom that can be placed into action. It is knowledge that can be turned into service. And when it is invested with intention, it produces something rare, impact that only comes from having lived. There's a reason younger people often move fast, but feel uncertain, and older people can move slower but see clearly. Clarity is expensive. It costs time, mistakes, heartbreak, effort, and correction. You paid that price. You learned what works and what doesn't. You learned what matters and what is merely noise. You learned how people really behave, how problems really unfold, and how solutions actually stick. That is not behind you. That is wealth, and like any wealth, it can either sit idle or it can be put to work. The greatest tragedy is not getting older. The greatest tragedy is letting your experience go unused as if it were no longer needed. Because the world is full of people who are desperate for guidance, even if they don't say it out loud. They are trying to raise families, build careers, survive disappointment, recover from failure, choose relationships, manage money, handle stress, keep their mind strong, find meaning. And you have lived through enough to offer something to that struggle. Not perfect answers, but perspective. Not controlling advice, you'd calm direction. Not lectures, but lessons. This is why experience becomes capital. Capital is something that when invested produces a return. In this case, the return is not only for others, it is for you. Because contribution gives life weight. When you are useful, you feel alive. When you are needed, you stand taller. When you are guiding and helping, your own days have a reason to matter. Many people look for happiness after 60, and they chase comfort, entertainment, distraction. But comfort does not satisfy the soul for long. The soul wants meaning. It wants to give. It wants to matter. And your experience is one of the most meaningful things you can give. Now, investing experience does not always mean standing on a stage. It can be quiet. It can happen in a living room, a phone call, a workshop, a small group, a message to someone who is lost. It can be mentoring a younger person in your family, your neighborhood, your community. It can be teaching a skill. It can be helping someone avoid a mistake you already paid for. It can be writing, recording, volunteering, coaching, advising. The form can be simple, but the effect can be lasting. But first you must stop thinking of yourself as finished. That word is poison. Finished people stop learning. Finished people stop giving. Finished people stop aiming, and they begin to shrink, not because their body demands it, but because their identity demands it. They say, "That's not for me anymore," and the mind obeys. The world becomes smaller. The circle becomes smaller. The future becomes smaller. The future becomes smaller. Yet the truth is, you can be older and still be expanding, because expanding is not an age issue. It is a purpose issue. Now let's talk about mentorship, because mentorship is one of the highest uses of experience. Mentorship is simply transferring clarity. It is shortening someone else's learning curve by offering raw. Do you already learn the hard way? And you don't need a formal title to be a mentor. You become a mentor the moment you decide to be a safe, honest guide for someone. You listen. You ask questions. You share your lessons without ego. You give encouragement with standards. You offer truth with kindness. And you help them see what they cannot yet see. Because they have not lived long enough to develop your perspective, also consider that mentorship is not only career advice. It is life advice. It is character. It is resilience. It is how to recover from failure without losing dignity. It is how to handle conflict without destroying relationships. It is how to manage money without becoming a slave to it. It is how to keep health without waiting for a crisis. It is how to build habits. It is how to keep promises to yourself. These are not small topics. These are life-shaping topics. And you have experience in them. But perhaps you say, what if my past includes mistakes? What if I failed? What if I regret? Then listen carefully. Even your mistakes are capital, because mistakes carry lessons that success can never teach. If you can speak honestly about what didn't work and what you learned, you can save someone else years of pain. The only condition is that you must have made peace with your past enough to use it as material instead of using it as a weapon against yourself. When you stop punishing yourself and start learning from yourself, your story becomes useful. Your scars becomes useful. Your scars become guides. Your recovery becomes proof. Your honesty becomes medicine for someone else. Service does not mean exhausting yourself. It means choosing an area where you can contribute steadily. Communities need people who show up reliably. Younger generations need elders who are stable, who listen, who don't panic, who have patience. Families need one who carries calm, who holds values, who reminds everyone what matters. Your experience can bring that calm. It can bring that steadiness. And in a world addicted to speed and noise, steadiness is priceless. And don't forget impact. Impact is the feeling that your life leaves a positive mark. After 60, impact becomes more satisfying than achievements. Achievements are things you collect. Impact is something you leave behind. And the beautiful part is that impact does not require a perfect past. It requires a present decision to invest what you have learned into the lives of others. So how do you begin? Start by listing 3 lessons you've learned that you wish you had known at 30. Write them down. Then look for one person you can share one lesson with in a way that helps them right now. Not a lecture, a conversation, a message, a supportive question, a practical insight. Then repeat once a week, once a day, small deposits. That is how capital grows. You don't need to pour everything out at once. That is how capital grows. You invest consistently. You can also choose a project that turns your experience into something lasting. It could be a journal, a set of recorded talks, a guide, a workshop, a small group, something that organizes your lessons and offers them to others. This not only helps people, it keeps your mind sharp. It keeps your heart engaged. It gives you a reason to learn more, refine your thinking, and stay connected to life. After 60, your experience is not a museum, it is a bank, and the world is full of opportunities to invest it. When you invest it, you don't just help others. You reclaim your own value. You stop seeing yourself as someone who is fading, and you start seeing yourself as someone who is contributing. You move from being a spectator to being a participant. You move from remembering the past to using it. And that shift changes everything, because a person who invests their experience does not grow old in the unhealthy way. They grow wise in the useful way. They grow steady in the strong way. They grow meaningful in the lasting way. They live with purpose. They build legacy and build legacy. And they create a return that cannot be measured in money, but can be measured in the lives they touch, the confidence they restore, the mistakes they prevent, the hope they revive, and the quiet truth they prove each day. That your greatest value is not what you did back then, but what you are still willing to give right now. But what you are still willing to give right now. Growth after 60 is first, last, and always a matter of mindset, because the real aging that limits a person is not in the calendar. It is in the conclusion they reach about themselves. The body may slow in certain ways, yes, but the spirit does not have to. The mind does not have to. The future does not have to. The future does not have to. The most dangerous sentence a person can speak after 60 is not, "I'm tired," because tired can be healed. The most dangerous sentence is, "That's just the way I am now," because that sentence closes the door on possibility, and once possibility is closed, life becomes smaller even if the years continue. But when you choose growth as your attitude, something almost miraculous happens. Your world stays open. Your curiosity stays alive. Your days stay meaningful. Learning becomes the instrument that keeps the spirit young, not childish, not naive, but young in the best sense, awake, flexible, hopeful, and interested in what could still be created. Many people believe learning is for the young, and that is one of the great misunderstandings of life. Learning is not a school activity. Learning is a life activity. The mind was built to expand, and it expands the way a muscle expands through use. When the mind stops reaching, it begins to stiffen. When the mind stops being challenged, it begins to repeat itself. It replays old opinions, old fears, old stories, and the person slowly becomes a prisoner of yesterday's thinking. Not because they lack intelligence, but because they stop renewing their mind. And renewal is the secret ingredient of vitality. You can see it in people. Some individuals, even at 70 and 80, carry a light in their eyes. They ask questions. They try new things. They speak with freshness. They are not bitter, not trapped, not rigid. They have that quality we admire and we struggle to define. It is not luck. It is not perfect health. It is the choice to keep learning, because learning keeps the inner life moving forward. Now understand what learning really is. Learning is not collecting random facts. Learning is upgrading the way you think. It is sharpening the way you see. It is adding tools to your mind so you can solve problems, communicate better, manage emotions better, and live with more skill. Learning is what keeps your future from being a copy of your past, because without learning, you don't get a new life. You get the same year repeated again and again with different dates on the calendar. And that is why growth after 60 must be chosen. At earlier ages, growth is often automatic because life forces it. You're building a career, raising a family, adapting to change, proving yourself, but later on, the forcing function can fade. Life may not push you as hard, so you must pull yourself forward with intention. You must decide, I am the kind of person who keeps expanding, and then you prove it with small acts of learning. Here is an important truth. The mind does not respond to age. It responds to instruction. It responds to instruction. If you instruct your mind that you are finished, it will behave as if you are finished. It will conserve energy. It will avoid challenge. It will avoid challenge. It will seek comfort and familiarity. But if you instruct your mind that you are still growing, it will search for opportunities to grow. It will notice teachers. It will notice lessons. It will notice ways to improve. It will turn experiences into wisdom instead of turning them into complaints. You see, learning is not merely the intake of information. Learning is an identity. It is the decision to remain a student of life. And when you remain a student of life, life remains interesting. Your days stay rich because you are not simply passing time. You are investing time. You are building something inside yourself that cannot be taken away. Capability, insight, skill, and perspective. Now, people often say, I'm too old to start. But what does that really mean? Too old to start what? Becoming healthier, becoming calmer, becoming more useful, becoming more engaged. Too old compared to whom? The only comparison that matters is who you were yesterday. And in that comparison, you can win every single day by learning one thing, practicing one thing, improving one thing. The moment you learn, the moment you practice, you have already begun to grow, and the future becomes open again. Learning after 60 has another beautiful effect. It protects you from fear. Fear thrives in the unknown. But learning turns the unknown into the understood. It turns confusion into clarity. It turns I can't into I'm figuring it out. And I'm figuring it out. And I'm figuring it out is a powerful statement because it contains hope, and hope is fuel. Hope does not mean pretending everything is easy. Hope means believing progress is possible, and then taking the next small step. So what does this look like in daily life? It looks like choosing a few areas where learning will pay the highest return: health, relationships, mindset, and skill. It looks like reading regularly, not to brag about books, but to renew your thinking. It looks like listening to wise voices instead of endless noise. It looks like practicing a skill that keeps your hands and mind active: writing, speaking, a craft, a language, music, technology, anything that requires attention and growth. It looks like asking questions instead of making final statements, because final statements are the enemy of growth. People never change. It's too late. That won't work. Those sentences create a locked room inside the mind, but questions open doors. What can I do next? What's one small improvement? Who can I learn from? What habit would change my energy? When you ask questions, you stay in motion. When you stay in motion, you stay alive. Another reason learning keeps the spirit young is that it keeps pride in its proper place. A person who keeps learning remains humble enough to improve. They don't need to pretend they know everything. They don't need to pretend they know everything. They don't need to protect an image. They can say, I'm still learning, and that sentence makes them strong, not weak. It gives them permission to be a beginner again. And being a beginner is not an insult. It's a doorway. Every new skill begins with being a beginner, and every new chapter begins the same way. And here is the real payoff. When you keep learning, you keep your relationship with the future. Many people after 60 unknowingly stop living toward the future and start living away from the past. They manage decline, manage fear, manage risk, but the learner lives toward something. The learner has projects, goals, curiosity, and a reason to wake up with interest. The learner looks forward, and looking forward is one of the healthiest things a human being can do. So decide this. You will not let the calendar write your identity. You will not let age become an excuse to stop expanding. You will remain a student. You will keep growing. You will keep learning. And you will do it in small, steady ways that fit your life. Because the point is not to overwhelm yourself. The point is to stay open, to stay awake, to stay becoming, because the future belongs to the person who keeps learning. And after 60, that choice is not just a strategy for success. It is a strategy for staying alive on the inside, for keeping your spirit bright, your mind flexible, your heart engaged, and your life moving forward, one lesson at a time. True success is not a loud celebration. It is a quiet alignment. It is the quiet alignment. It is the feeling that your life makes sense, that your days are not merely passing but building, that you are at peace inside yourself while still moving forward. And after 60, this definition becomes more valuable than any trophy because you begin to see what so many people learn too late. Success without peace is a polished form of failure, and peace without progress can become a comfortable kind of stagnation. The strongest life is the one that holds both peace plus progress, and that balance is what makes success real. Peace is not laziness. Peace is not surrender. Peace is inner order. It is a mind that is not constantly at war with itself. It is freedom from the endless noise of proving, comparing, and chasing approval. Peace is knowing what matters and refusing to be pulled apart by what doesn't. Progress, on the other hand, is not frantic motion. Progress is purposeful movement. It is the steady improvement of your health, your relationships, your contribution, and your legacy. When peace and progress work together, you wake up feeling grounded and you go to sleep feeling satisfied, because you know you used the day well. After 60, many people fall into one of two traps. The first trap is chasing progress without peace. They continue to chase goals, but the goals are built on anxiety. They're trying to outrun age, outrun fear, outrun emptiness, outrun the feeling that they are losing relevance. They stay busy, but their hearts are restless. They achieve things, but they don't enjoy them. Their nervous system is always tense. They are productive, but not present. That is not success. That is a treadmill. The second trap is seeking peace without progress. They say, I've earned my rest, and rest is good. But then rest becomes retreat. Days become repetitive. Curiosity fades, standards drop. Relationships become passive. The person is calm, perhaps, but not alive. The fire of purpose grows dim. That is not success either. That is simply existing. So the right aim is balance, peace plus progress. And the reason this matters is that human beings are designed to grow and to contribute. The soul wants to move forward, but it wants to move forward in harmony, not in panic. It wants to improve without becoming obsessed. It wants to be useful without becoming obsessed. It wants to build a legacy while still enjoying the life that is being lived right now. Now, what does peace look like after 60? Peace looks like a mind that is not poisoned by regret. You don't deny your past, but you don't live inside it. Peace looks like forgiveness, not because people deserve it, but because you deserve freedom. Peace looks like acceptance of what you cannot change and responsibility for what you can. Peace looks like emotional maturity. You can feel sadness without collapsing. You can face problems without dramatizing. You can disagree without bitterness. Peace looks like having fewer arguments with reality. And peace also looks like health in your inner world. You take care of your nervous system. You sleep. You breathe. You walk. You unplug from constant stress. You choose quiet moments, not because you are escaping life, but because you are preparing to live it better. Peace is a foundation. It makes everything else stronger. But progress is still required because peace without a direction can become dull. Progress after 60 looks different than progress at 30. It is less about climbing and more about refining, less about proving and more about improving. It is progress in the areas that truly matter: health, relationships, contribution, and legacy. Health is the first pillar, because health is the first pillar, because health is the platform that supports everything else. Success is difficult to enjoy when your body is neglected and your energy is low. Health after 60 is not about perfection. It is about stewardship. It is treating your body with respect, so it can carry you into the years ahead with strength. It is small, consistent habits: movement, nutrition, hydration, sleep, stress management, regular checkups. This is progress that gives you freedom, because the healthier you are, the more options you have. You can travel, you can play with grandchildren, you can serve others, you can enjoy your days with less pain and more vitality. Health is not vanity. It is a form of responsibility to your future self and your family. Relationships are the second pillar, because no one looks back at life and wishes they had spent more time on meaningless distractions. People wish they had loved better, listened better, forgiven sooner, spoken truth with kindness, and built deeper connection. After 60, relationships become a major measure of success. Not how many people know your name, but how many people feel safe in your presence. Progress in relationships means repairing where possible, appreciating more openly, setting healthy boundaries, and investing time in the people who matter. Peace grows in the heart when relationships are nurtured. Progress grows in the family when someone becomes a steady source of love and wisdom. Contribution is the third pillar, because usefulness keeps the spirit alive. Because usefulness keeps the spirit alive. After 60, contribution often becomes more fulfilling than personal achievement. You have knowledge, experience, and perspective that can help others. Contribution might be mentoring, volunteering, teaching, building a project, sharing skills, or offering guidance. It is the shift from what can I get to what can I give, to what can I give. And giving is not just generosity. It is identity. It tells you that your life is still needed, still valuable, still meaningful. The person who contributes does not quietly disappear. They remain present in the world, and the world is better for it. Legacy is the fourth pillar, and legacy is the fourth pillar, and legacy is the footprint you leave on people. It is the values you pass on. It is the example you set. Legacy is how you are remembered in the hearts of those who knew you. After 60, legacy becomes an honest question. What am I building that will outlive me? The answer might be a family culture of love and discipline. It might be a business or a craft you pass on. It might be a body of work, a set of teachings, a story written down, a cause supported. Legacy is what happens when peace and progress are aimed at something larger than your comfort. Now, the beautiful thing is that peace plus progress does not require huge dramatic change. It requires alignment and consistency. You can build peace by simplifying your life, choosing calm habits, and letting go of unnecessary conflict. You can build progress by committing to 1 or 2 meaningful goals and taking small steps daily. The key is to hold them together. When progress becomes stressful, you return to peace. When peace becomes passive, you return to progress. That is balance. That is wisdom. That is wisdom. So if you want a definition of success that will not disappoint you, choose this one, a life where you are at peace with who you are and you are still becoming who you are capable of being. A life where you take care of your health because you respect your future. A life where you build relationships because love is the real measure. A life where you contribute because usefulness keeps you alive. A life where you shape a legacy because your life is meant to mean something beyond itself. And when these 4 pillars work together, you don't just grow older. You grow deeper. You grow steadier. You grow more satisfied. You grow into a kind of success that cannot be taken away, a success you can feel in the quiet moments, a success you can carry into each day with gratitude and strength, and a success that says, without needing to shout, my life is aligned, my mind is calm, my heart is full, and I am still moving forward.